This is Dr. Terry James Gingras, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, the show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. And we are hard into the holiday season. And as a good strategic parent, you know that this presents some difficulties, and you need to get ahead of the game to make sure that you have an enjoyable holiday season and your young man or young lady also has a good holiday season. But you gotta plan ahead. You gotta, you're doing some things over the holidays that are a little different from what your normal routine is. And so you have to plan ahead and see the possible problem areas and you make the appropriate preparations. Let's just put it that way. Okay. First thing you should be doing and should have done started a while ago. But this is the best we got right now. So make sure you have taught your child some relaxation technique, if you want to call it that, or some breathing focus technique, or some meditation technique. And the difference between them is not the point. The point is that they are all basically the same principles and guidelines. And what they do is they enable you to grab some control over your emotions, which, of course, with an ADHD child, we are strongly desirous of doing that. And you have to make it a regular thing that you do, that you practice, and you show your child that you're practicing it and encourage him or her to practice it. And I have been surprised over the years that even very hyperactive ADHDers do pretty well with a relaxation training, which is what we used to call it before meditation became fashionable and okay to say. It used to be you said meditation and truck drivers got facial tics. Not anymore. Now everybody's using it. Okay, so that's one of the things that you need to be aware of. And the other thing you've got to be aware of is ADHDers get overstimulated. Okay, you think, oh, of course, they're always overstimulated. Well, no, but what I mean is because their brains aren't very good at focusing, they're paying attention to everything. So if there's tons of things going on all over the place, the whole house is full of screaming kids in every different room and loud adults talking loudly and who knows what else, that can be overwhelming for an ADHD child. And you've got to be aware of that, because I know I was not aware of that when my kids were young. I just was wondering, why do they keep blowing up and, these kind of situations. So you've got to be aware of that, and you've got to monitor it. You've got to let them know that, first of all, that they know some things to do when they start feeling overstimulated. They have the aforementioned relaxation training / meditation that they have been schooled in by you for months and months. And also, wherever you go, try to find a place that can be a kind of a break room, a quiet room, whatever, a meditation room, whatever you want to call it, but someplace they can go to get away from all the stuff that's going on. And you have to work at this. I mean, most of us don't go to any place strange and wonderful for our holidays. We go to the whatever relative happens to be closest to us, and sometimes emotionally and sometimes just distance-wise. But you've been there before, probably, so there's probably a room, like in my in-laws' house, there was a large upstairs hallway, and at the end was a sofa sleeper that didn't get much use. But when things got a little overwhelming, I went up there and kind of, and later on, I started taking my young man up there too, just to kind of chill out, play quietly, do something to just let the overstimulation go away. So other things you need to do with your kids is you need to keep them informed. You need to let them know what's going to happen when, where you're going, when you're leaving, da 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 da. And you also need to give them a little bit of a talk about what the behavior expectations are. Oh, we're going to visit grandma and grandpa. And, they kind of like things to be a little bit quiet and people to show good manners. So pay attention to that and try to do the best you can. And that's you think, "Ugh," but it's important, and you need to let them know that if grandma's allergic to cats and they have a favorite cat they always want to bring everywhere, that's why we're not bringing the cat. Or if we've got a dog and we need to know what are the rules for the dog, can I just let him in the house anytime I want to, or what's the deal on that? Just keep them informed. And for you and the whole family, routine saves your life. Okay, routine is terribly important day to day. The getting up in the morning routine, the going to bed at night routine, the homework routine, the brushing your teeth routine, all those things are important. And it's also when we go to bed and when we get up. And you need to keep those as close to normal as you possibly can, because you deviate wildly. And in Thanksgiving, honestly, it's not that big a deal because it's only a 4-day weekend for most people. But if you let them get stay up all night one night and make it up the next morning, and then the next day you're back home and they got to get up for school the next morning, you've created a problem that you probably don't want to have to deal with. So keep the routines as close to normal as possible. Bedtime stay pretty close to the same, maybe an extra hour if you're of a mind, but don't get them things so out of whack that you take 2 or 3 weeks trying to get them back in the way they used to be. Okay. And then when they get there, it's helpful if they're old enough. I mean, even if they're not, real old, I mean, in the sense of being 7 or 8, or give them a job to do, something that they can do, of course, with whoever's house you're going to. Or if everybody's coming to your house, then you give the job. But just something so they feel like they're part of the celebration and they're having a hand in making it happen, and that sort of thing. As always with ADHD kids, praise liberally. Okay? Praise makes those little dopamine receptors go bananas and makes for a happier ADHD child, and usually as a result of that, happier ADHD parents. But you've got to remind yourself, because we don't, I've been a parent for a long time and have worked with a lot of parents over the years. We tend to be spring loaded in the critical position. And that's not going to be, well, it's a habit, that's the way most of us were raised. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to, things are quiet. If I want to hear noises, all I got to do is screw up somehow, and then we will hear big loud complaints and that sort of stuff. And we've got to watch that ourselves, because it's so automatic. You go to 8, oh well, 8, you go to 12, 15, 16, more than that years of education. What are you worried about? The criticism, always the criticism. What did I do wrong? What did I screw up? How can this report be better? How can that dissertation be better? How can this thesis be better? We're always worried about, do you get a job? It's like, okay, as long as I'm not doing anything wrong, the boss is smiling and happy. It's when I screw up that I hear from him in most companies. So use praise liberally. And like I said, we're strategic parents. We monitor, we will look at the situations, we are prepared ahead of time. Okay, one of the things that, well, there are a lot of things people aren't aware of and they don't pay attention to. How often do you compliment or praise your ADHD child? just in general. The rule in research is if you're not measuring it, you can't control it. And that's kind of the way it is for parenting. If you aren't, everybody thinks, oh, I don't criticize that much. And then you watch a video of yourself in the course of a typical morning and you realize, dang, I spent a lot of time on his butt. And you don't even, it's normal, so you don't even pay attention to it. But you really got to start paying attention to that sort of thing, monitoring it. The other thing is especially if you're going to have a bunch of kids in the house, the cousins are coming and all that sort of thing, have some kind of activities, if it's, or, could be like the Kennedys in their touch football games in Hyannisport, or it could be, for those of you who don't remember, President Kennedy was president back in the 60s, and he and his family lived in Hyannisport, Massachusetts, and every holiday they all got together and played touch football. Okay. It's not particularly, you have to be a Democrat to do that. any political party can do this, but what you want is you want some exercise. You want them, gives them a chance. First of all, exercise by itself increases dopamine. It also helps you just relax in general. Okay, it's a wonderful regulator. If you're too anxious or upset or angry, it calms you right down. If you're feeling more depressed and moody and that sort of thing, it elevates your mood. So it's the magic potion, and very rarely, if ever, prescribed. So, but if it's some kind of an activity, hiking, go for a hike. You're close to some mountains or something. Go out for a couple hours while somebody else prepares the turkey and so on. But they'll thank you because you have kept the kids calm and out of their hair. So you want to, and actually have something like that planned. Don't just let it happen, or see if it happens. And one of the things, as a strategic parent, you gotta be a little bit assertive and take over things when you see that they need to be done. Okay, next thing, diet. Okay, and I don't mean for losing weight. I mean, or preventing heart attacks. There's all kinds of stuff lying around every house during the holidays. Stuff that isn't usually there, even for most of us. But what you really want to watch with your ADHD kids is sugar intake. Sugar does a couple of things. Well, first of all, when you eat a bunch of it, you found yourself the whole bag of M&Ms, and one of the big bags, the 1-pounders, and you get a rush. Your blood sugar goes sky high. Then, unfortunately, your body gets kind of panicky, and it's, we got too much sugar on board, and so it starts secreting things that lower the sugar, and you crash. So, and this is like 20 minutes, boom, boom. We used to have, I used to know people, even in college, but also in high school, who, had their idea of breakfast was a Coke and a candy bar. And then, like in a half hour after they got to school, they were crashed. So then what they would do is find another Coke and another candy bar and just keep doing that all day long. Okay. There's a behavior problem when you do that with an ADHD kid, is they get downright cranky and irritable when their blood sugar is really low, more cranky and more irritable than kids who don't have ADHD. So you've got to watch that, and you've got to watch how much junk they eat. And of course, you got to watch yourself too, because you need to stay sharp and on your game. So mind the Thanksgiving wine and whatever else is available. And the other thing is, depending on you, most of us are aware that turkey contains tryptophan, which makes most of us real slow and sleepy. And that's one thing you've got to watch out for, because if both you and your spouse are really prone to that and usually find yourself taking an afternoon nap after Thanksgiving dinner, somebody's got to be around to pay attention to the kids, and you want to make sure that somebody is there to do that. So, I mean, it's not life or death, but it's a thing you have to practice yourself, and so you can be aware of that. Somebody needs to be alert and aware. Somebody who knows ADHD and can see stuff coming. Okay, and the other things is when I was a kid and we traveled. Before we started, my dad was a golf pro. We went to Florida from New Hampshire every year. And before every trip, my brother and I got a little bag, and the bag had a comic book, usually a toy, a couple of snacks that were not full of sugar. Used to be able to get little bags of peanuts, that kind of stuff, nabs, the crackers with peanut butter, that kind of thing. Nowadays, I don't know if anybody even knows what comic books are, but whatever your child needs, maybe a new video game, I don't know, but something just to kind of make them think this is something special, and not a bad deal at all. So I'll sit in this car for the 3-hour ride to grandma's house. But you want to have planned it ahead, and your child, what they're used to, what they like to play with. I mean, my ADHD, you give them a ballpoint pen, a couple of rubber bands, and a couple of paper clips, and he was happier than poo, for a long time, and could make some interesting things if you didn't mind ink refills shooting through the air and that sort of stuff. But do something that helps them stay busy and stay organized, rather than just sitting there mindlessly watching cartoons or whatever on the video screens in your van, which those of us of a certain age never had that option. They didn't put video screens in cars when I was a young father. I think it would have been kind of neat, but for you want them to be comfortable and happy for the drive, because they're not, frankly, it's boring, and anything you can do to kind of keep them occupied for the drive, however long that is, it will make your life easier. And also, when you get there, they'll come in and they won't be all cranked up and needing to get rid of some energy. They will be calmer and more in control and happier, and so will mom and dad. Okay, so that's about it. I think that's about a dozen different things you can do and look at for getting through the Thanksgiving holidays. We'll talk in a couple of weeks about Christmas holidays, which are probably a lot of the same things, but some of them are a little more involved, because a lot of people take like a whole week for Christmas and go someplace and stay a week in some house usually, and fly and all this stuff. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you have to also add when it's Christmas or whatever your other religious holiday might be. Okay, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat. I have a website that's terrygingrassphd.com. And we're in the middle of a big remodel of everything. So I have a podcast as well with the same title. The content is not quite the same. And I this is Facebook Live, and there's also YouTube, and there's also the podcast. And like I said, we've got big changes coming. We're still going to do it, but we're going to make some changes. I'm thinking about changing the day of the week when I do this. Um, I started doing it on Sunday purely because the first time I ever did a Facebook Live, it was because I hit the little red camera because I was watching a really bad football game. And since then, it's been like 10 years, and I have never changed the date or the day of the week. Okay, so we're thinking about that, maybe Tuesday or Thursday in the future, but we will let you know. Okay, so have a good day and a good holiday week, and we will catch you in a week or so.